Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you guys check us out on our new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Make sure you guys check us out there, where not only will you find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, but you will also find our sister podcast, which is the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. So you can find both of those there, as well as some other podcasts that I'm piloting right now too. We have a Bible study podcast that's been on for 5 years. That's on there, and we also have another podcast, the Earn the Earth podcast. We have several podcasts there. So make sure you guys go. Again, check us out at the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube. Make sure you guys check us out there. We definitely want you to tap in with us. Our product of the week, as you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast. And one of the ways we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase. And so we have our purpose journal and our purpose planner, because I believe that we ought to journal in order for us to keep tabs on where we are and where we've been, as well as plan for our future. So make sure you guys go to the descriptions below and click on the links for our purpose journal and our purpose planner. Both are on Amazon, as well as go to the descriptions and check out some of the other information that we have. A lot of great information in the descriptions below. So make sure that you guys are checking that out. But today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Brice. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I am well. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. No doubt.
My pleasure.
No doubt. So, man, we're going to jump right in this thing, Brice. Do me a favor. Introduce yourself to my listeners. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
All right. So my name is Jason Brice. I am originally from Long Island, New York. Okay. Go about Hempstead, Uniondale, and also Lakeview, Long Island. I right now I'm currently a counselor. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor. I'm also a certified school counselor. I'm a local elected board member, education board member. I'm a guidance counselor. I'm a public addresser now. I got a lot of jobs, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. It reminds me of like in Living Color. I don't know if you remember some skits from Hey Mom. I got like 10, 15 jobs, bro.
Right. I got you, man. And but they all in the same field, you know what I mean, in
That
the
is true.
space of helping people
That
and
is true.
connecting with people. So I know we are going to have a
Yeah.
great conversation.
Good.
But before we get started with that,
Sure.
one of the things that I ask and that I know is that you are a girl dad like myself.
Yes, I
So
am.
whenever I have other girl dads on, I always ask them two questions. What does it mean for you to be a girl dad, and what is something that your daughter or daughters have taught you?
All right, so to to be a girl dad is a privilege, you know what I'm saying? It's something that I wouldn't trade for this world. Now, I'll be honest with you. They always say, God always gets his payback, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not so I'm not so sure how I was with the ladies. Well, actually, I know how I was with the ladies when I was growing up and in my wild days, but yeah, I'm very protective of my daughters too. So it's always a challenge, you know what I mean, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And what my daughters have taught me, like I told my oldest daughter when she first taught me, my daughter my daughters have taught me about my steel magnolias. Okay, so I don't know how to deal with all the emotions and stuff like that. At least I didn't. Now I
okay.
understand, so it's softened me, right? I'm
Mhm.
softened. um I have to understand I'm a man, so I know how men think, but knowing how
Right,
women think, and their emotions and how you can have to speak to them. I have a son too, so I can check my son a certain way, and
right,
he might feel a way, but he go about his business. I check my daughter a certain way. She got it right here, and
yeah,
it's coming back at some point.
yeah,
Like, well, you did this. Oh, I'm like, wow, that was like a week ago. Okay, all right. So it's listen, to be honest with you, girl dad, boy dad, yeah, and I get what you. It's just a privilege and an honor to be a
yeah,
father. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So just to be a parent is my greatest responsibility.
Right, love it, man.
Absolutely.
All right, man. So, I hope your mommy call you Brice. I have a friend named
Most
Brice, so I connect.
yeah, everybody
All
calls me
right,
Bryce,
cool.
man. Everybody
Because
calls me
I
Bryce.
connect with the Brice. I'm like, yeah, I
All
know
good.
Brice. You know
Everybody,
what I'm saying?
and that's how they be. They be like, "Yo, I know Bryce. Yo, you know Bryce? Matter of fact, yo, you need some help? Go ask Bryce." You know what I mean? It's always the same thing, man. It's all good.
Good, good, good. So let's jump right in this thing, Bryce,
Sure.
man. And you mentioned about all the hats that you
Yes.
wear, as far as jobs, and it's all kind of uh censored around that counseling and being able to talk to people and help people. And I always know that in this work that we do, there's a
Mhm.
story before the story. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like
Yes.
there's a reason why you are the
Yeah.
person who you are today. So take us back a little bit to the early days of Brice and who you were, and what was kind of that initial incident that happened in your life that made you say, you know what, I done got through some things. Now I want to kind of be that person to help other students and
Mhm.
people that you counsel and people that come into your into your atmosphere. Now I'm be that person to help them out.
Yeah, so I kind of, like I said, I grew up in Lakeview, Long Island. We moved to then Uniondale, Hempstead, Long Island. But my original story started in Staten Island, right? And I was living with my mother, and my parents, they were divorced. I'd never seen my parents together. And my mother, unfortunately, she miscarried a baby from someone that was a little abusive to her. And, she just never really recovered, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And we had to, just like that, go live with my father. So that was a tough transition for me at 7. Now, mind you, how I can talk about this is because oftentimes we have to pass a moment to understand the significance of the moment. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So
Definitely.
while
Yep.
it was going on, I didn't know, I'm just riding with life, right? But as when I look back, I say that's where it began. Like that really affected me. And then we're moving
Yeah.
out to Long Island, and I went through some trials. I had to overcome some things, man. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you. And if I'm just gonna be honest, I had to, I was raped when I was younger, like 7, 8, you know what I'm saying? So I had to overcome that. And then that kind of like, it kind of like dealt with like a lack of confidence, man, like lack of confidence, lack of our identity. And then it also didn't help that I went to a private school. So my father put us in private school, which was all white. So now I'm not even, it's hard for me to find my identity. You know what I'm saying? Plus they're calling me all these different names and it's making me feel a certain way. And I'm like, what's going on? So over time, like you just develop like that. And maybe around 26, I turned 26, that was like the culmination point to say, like, you know what? Yeah, I got to figure out what's wrong with me. Then I got to start that path of healing. But while I'm doing that, you know what? I've always been good at listening. I could listen, I could talk, I could help people. I had a heart that always wanted to help people. Is that the world sometimes tell you that having a heart makes you a sucker, or having a heart makes you weak. So you try not to have that heart, but ultimately, at some point, I couldn't help it. Like I am who I am. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like my trajectory on my path on how I, started to become a counselor. I do know that when I was 18, trying to figure it out, I wasn't a smart student. I went to summer school 6 times. I had teachers, tell me, well, I hope you do more in real life than you did in high school, and all these different little, jabs that they would, give me. And then at the same time, I went to summer school 6 times. So I failed a lot of tests and classes. And when you fail stuff and you have those marks, and this is why I'm big with teaching teachers that you have to be careful, because when someone's failing, what you're doing is you're simultaneously telling them they're not that intelligent. They're not meant for school. They're not meant for this. Maybe you should do something with your hands, Brice. And I'm like, yo, my hands is soft though, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't do that. You know what I mean? So, so when I was 18, and this is back when there was no Indeed or no Monster or whatever. There was the Sunday classifieds, and I was looking for a job, and I could not keep a job because I would quit. I'd go down, this is some nonsense. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing that always spoke out to me when I was 18, reading that classifieds, was being a counselor. I was like, counselor? I could do that. I could do that. So I called and said, sign me up. I'm a counselor. They said, no, sir. You're going to have to go to school. You got to go this and that. So, ultimately, listen, I've tried so many different things, but, as God says, man plans, God laughs, right? So that's me. I'm very passionate about helping people. I can identify with a lot of ways that kids feel. So I just try to tap into that and try to switch the role. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm in their shoes, this is how I'm going to feel. And my ability to be able to do that isn't something that I learned. You understand what I'm saying? It was something that God intrinsically developed in me. That it's discernment, it's just that way of being able to kind of look through, asking a series of questions, looking through that person's soul and seeing what they need to be able to move forward.
Yeah. I love that, man. And I want to just touch back on a little bit on some of the things that you talked about when you mentioned the failures and going to summer school, because that's, as a speaker myself, and we didn't even get into this as far as being public speakers and motivational speakers. But as a speaker myself, one of the things that I talk about when I go into schools is overcoming failure, right? And how I failed early academically, in my academic career, and I never for at that time I kind of couldn't get over that, right? Because I ended up failing a grade and being held back a grade, I say? Yeah. Right. And I never could kind of forget it, because all my friends and my cousins and family that's around my age, now everybody was a year in front of me. You know what I mean? So all the things that they were able to do, with their class, I couldn't join in because, they were in 7th grade, I was in 6th grade. They were in 8th grade, I was in 7th grade. So all the stuff that, they was all getting to do together, I
Right.
couldn't do because I was a year behind. And so that gave me a different passion, to push forward. And, I went to summer school class, took, voluntarily signed up for
Right.
summer school classes
Right.
and things like that in
Right.
order to get back, quote unquote,
Yeah, I got
in my
you. Yeah.
right grade.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Right. I
yeah.
got you.
And
Yeah.
so I talk about that because I would say that was like one of the best things that happened to me, because it gave me such a drive
Mhm.
that, I ended up becoming an honor roll student many
Oh,
times
wow.
over.
Wow.
You know what I
Wow.
mean? All kind of certificates and things like that.
Wow.
Graduated high school in 3 years instead of 4 years. Went to
Wow.
college, got a college degree. You know what
Wow.
I'm saying? And so
Right.
even though that failure was somewhat of a negative, like I said, it was the best thing that happened to me
Yeah.
because it gave me a drive that
Yeah.
all of my, friends and family who were, the same age, they didn't have that same drive because they
Right.
weren't behind. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's sort of like the comeback kid. And
Absolutely.
I think that's important for us to talk about, just not with our students, but people in general. Is like, life be life, especially
Yeah.
now. I don't know how
Yeah.
I can't talk about how life was, you know what I'm saying, for the other generations, but I
Right.
know I'm
Life
gonna
be
be
life.
50. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
dude, every time you turn around, there's something.
Yep.
But you got to know and understand that you can get through those things, you can get past those things.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so when you're even talking about your failure as you relate to your students and the people that come in contact with you, what are some of the things that you're able to pull from your own story in order to tell them, to connect with them, to be like, hey, you can make it through whatever you're going through too?
Well, that's the thing. See, so most of the kids, they'll be like, Brice, I don't need school, I don't need this, and Brice, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I'm like, let's flesh that out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So when you say you don't need school, right, is what you're saying is that you don't need education. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I tried. I first went to school. Actually, when I graduated high school, I think I did go to school. I went to National Community College, right? But I probably went for 2 classes and I was out. I wanted to chill, you know what I'm saying? So I never went back. Then I signed up for New York Tech, you know what I'm saying? And I was in school just enough to get that refund check, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
hey, I heard those stories.
I was out, you know what I'm saying? So, but you know what happened to me though? And I'm gonna get to your questions though. I sometimes I go out,
You're
I
good.
go way
You're good.
out.
You're good.
Listen, I go way out in the ocean, but I promise I'm coming back to shore. I promise I do. Right. So while I'm just like not doing anything and I'm smoking, I'm drinking, I'm playing Sega Genesis or whatever, picking my girlfriend up at work. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of them dudes. And a guy by the name of Ed Mitchell, he calls me. I got a 720 on the SAT, but he calls me and he asked me, "Hey, you want to go to school?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to go to school." So he was like, "Yo, listen, I'm calling from Lincoln University. Yeah, here at Lincoln, we love to have you." I said, "Well, listen, I said, you know what, bro? You probably just got my name or something like that, but trust me, I got a 720 on the SAT. You're not going to accept me." The man said, "Do you want to go to school?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, listen, I'll be right there in 5 minutes." I said, "What?" He said, "I'll be there in 5 minutes." And in 5 minutes, he came because he lived around the corner from me.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So he came and he talked to me. And he just talked to me and he told me to write. He said, "Write an essay and you in." And that's what I did. And I went to Lincoln, but I failed. I'm saying I failed and I got flunked out. And shout out to Tiffany Jones because it's like we had to go to court to try to get back in or something like that. And they said no, and we was done. So what I say to children is that you cannot have victory if you don't have failure. Sometimes you have to fail to win.
Yep.
So how else do you know? Like no one is just that lucky to say, "I win and I don't never lose." No.
Yeah.
You've lost and then you've tracked and adjusted. And now that resiliency, that fire to want to win, to want to accomplish, now is what's getting you over the hump. And at the same time, it's a timing thing, right? So that's number one. So you need the education because listen, I was dumping trash. I worked at Wawa. I was frying chicken. I was doing customer service, bro. And at that time, especially when I had my first daughter in 99. Oh man, I got this job working at Comcast Cable making $14, man. I'm telling you, that was big money back then, you know what I'm saying? And it was easy. And I was like, oh, this is the life. I could do this forever until them calls was never ending. And I said I couldn't do it. So when I was like 26, I said, you know what? They gave me, I was working for Geico. They gave me a schedule that was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I was like, oh, I quit. I'm going back to school because I want to be able to dictate what I want to do. I want to be able to have a career. And see, kids get caught up in saying, yeah, I just want to make the money, right? That's a job. A job is what you choose to make money. A career is what God chooses for you to do. And I had to realize that, you know what I'm saying? Again, that's passing the moment, looking back to see the significance. So the two things that I help kids with understanding, like I said, I told you I was going out in the ocean, I'm coming back.
Yeah, I got you.
You have to fail to win. So if you're failing, okay.
Right. That's the first step.
Right, let's sit down. Let's sit down. We'll see what you're doing wrong. And then, or maybe you're not doing anything wrong. Maybe it's just not your time. You know what I'm saying? So it takes a little time. Okay. So I always teach education. I mean, all you gotta do is watch the movie Roots, and they'll tell you right there, you need education to survive, bro. You need it to survive.
Yeah, yeah. And I like what you said, because a lot of times that's one of the things that I talk about with the kids too, because a lot of times why a lot of students are having such a hard time in school, some of them, because they don't see how it connects to their real life. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And even as adults, we talk about it and joke about it all the time. Like, man, I never needed trigonometry. You know what I'm saying? Why did I have to take that? So it is a lot of things that we have to learn in order to pass, classes and things that we never use in our real life. However, there are some fundamentals that we do learn that we do need. And then after high school, then you get into that secondary education where now you get to choose. Right. So once you belong again, having those conversations in high school with the high school students where they begin to know a little bit about themselves, to realize, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is kind of the area where I want to go with my life. Now you get to choose the classes and things that align with that. So now you're not blindly just taking classes, and I try to have that conversation with kids, because a lot of times, our kids are kind of pushed like, okay, go to college, you know what I mean? And it's like, for what? I don't want you to go to college just to go. I don't want you to go just because, like my daughter was honor roll student, very smart, intelligent young lady. And so coming through her high school years, she was always being pushed, go to college. And so I asked her, I'm like, we're having a conversation, and she like, well, I don't even like school like that. Like, I do what I got to do, but I don't like school like that. So I'm like, so don't go to college, because that ain't number school. Now you have a choice. Like you don't have to go. But you have to figure out what you want to do with your life. And once you figure out what you want to do with your life, if it's necessary to go in order to meet that goal, then you go. You know what I'm saying? But don't just go just because you can, because you end up wasting a lot of time, unfortunately, and money. You know what I'm saying? That you didn't have to. You know what I mean? So I think that's important. Go ahead.
Yeah, I tell kids, when they're confused, and I said, listen, what did you want to do when you were like 7, right? And the reason why I go back to like 7 is because that's when our dreams are like constant, right? Oh, I think I want to do this. I want to do that. And, the thing is, I try to empower kids and tell kids, yo, you got to live your dream. Yeah. You got to live it, because you know what? You only go around one time. This is one time you go around. You get one chance. Okay. So, and why not? Why not go after your dream? Why not? You're young. You know what I'm saying? Life is black and white. But once it starts getting colorful, things change. You know what I'm saying? Things change. I didn't get my bachelor's to 30. I was 30 when I got my bachelor's, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of felt like I was like behind everybody. You know what I'm saying? Trying to catch up because I finally got it. You know what I'm saying? Or at least I was on the path to getting it. You know what I'm saying? And then life, you know, life has a way to continue to keep you on that path. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's important too. That we realize that, you know, there's not really a clock to it. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you do get it a little earlier, but then there's not necessarily a clock to it. Because I hear people say all the time, like, once you get that degree, there's no date on it. You know what I'm saying? It don't say, well, it took you 12 years to get it, and it only took me 3. It just say that you got it. You know what I mean? That you achieved it. And so I think that's important too, for the kids. One of the things you mentioned about just now, about following your dreams. And one of the things I know is part of both of our dreams, and I remember we were talking offline that we met this year, you know, at a speakers conference, and I was looking at your face, and I'm like, I know this dude, you know what I'm saying? And so we, you know, on that, in that area, you know what I mean, to be on this journey as speakers to speak to kids and stuff. Also, a part of that, you know, that we do when you're using your voice is, you know, podcasting. We're on a podcast right now, and also writing, you know, as an author. Both of, you know, things that I've done, but things that you've done also. So let's talk a little bit about the choice, number one, to become a speaker. You know, what's your motivation behind that to become a motivational speaker? And then let's talk about your podcast and even your book a little bit.
Okay. All right. So the choice to become a speaker, I guess, you know what, I would watch individuals who were life coaches, right? And you know, I was always kind of like enamored with them, you know what I'm saying, with life coaches, right? Like, oh, okay, they're speaking life and they're doing their thing. But you know, I think one time I tried to like get some information from a person that's out there, motivationally speaking, right? And I think the consultation was free, but the next time we met, it was going to be like $700-800. And I was like, $700-800. I'm like, yo, I met you at a an assembly. And like, wait, 800? So I said, all right, well, listen, I'm gonna pray and ponder, and then I'll let you know. But I already knew it was no. Like, I'm not paying nobody $800. But you know, so that kind of motivated me, okay, because I kind of was like, I had cancer last year. So overcoming cancer, going through the anesthesia and just the pain, it wanted me to do more, right? So then I reached out to this person to try to get, you know, a little something or whatever. And, you know, I heard that it was like $800 an hour or something. I'm like, get out, I'm not doing that. So I said, you know what? Yo, speaking ain't nothing but, to me, this is me, and I don't mean no disrespect to nobody, but speaking to me is counseling on steroids. It's all it is. I'm a counselor. You know what I'm saying? So why not take the message that's just in the office? Well, let me bring it out the office. You know what I'm saying? And utilize the skills I have. So, you know, people at my job, you know, anytime there's a speaking event, whether it's public speaking or whether it's trying to get kids to join a part of a program or join a sport or even be a part of this early college program, whatever, they come to me to be able to deliver it. So I said, well, you know what? I might as well deliver the things that matter to me. You know what I'm saying? So I took a chance. I took a chance for my birthday. I came to Atlanta to learn from the best, or who I deemed the best, right? So I was either going to the next level or I was going to Les Brown's, okay? But Les Brown didn't have nothing. So that's what brought me to the next level. And it was life-changing. Like, you know, and what was life-changing, it wasn't necessarily about something that somebody said. What it was is sometimes, again, you know, when you are trying to search where to go, there's always a point where you go to a place and you say, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
you know what? I found my purpose. And that's why I tell people I found my purpose in Atlanta. I know I'm supposed to speak.
Yeah.
I know it. Okay.
Yeah.
So then now, you know, what I did was, you know, I'm a poet. I write poetry. I'm a writer. You talked about some of those classes, right? Like trigonometry not being significant as you get older, right?
Mhm.
And you're right. But I took typing on a typewriter when I was in high school. And I'm like, yo, I don't want this, whatever. You know, I always thought typing was like female stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we grew up thinking that typing is like secretarial stuff. And I'm like,
Right.
female stuff. I
Yeah.
don't want to learn typing. But I didn't realize that years later, that's why I can write.
Everybody's typing.
Right. That's why I can write though too. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I became a writer. I used to write I used to write a beautiful, yes, some of my ex-girlfriends. I used to write a beautiful love letter, man. I could just express it. I could make you think that I think the world of you and don't really even like you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I could play that game. Like, you know, I had to give the gab. I'm from New York. So
right.
so I started writing poetry, though. I did start writing poetry. That came alive when my mom's died in 2013. And I just started writing poetry, man. And I took those poems and turned it into a book. And then, you know, after my mother died, I got, you know, me and my wife, we split. And then I've also ultimately came divorced. And I was left to raise the kids. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, having a daughter, you know, age 3 at the time, and I'm trying to be a producer. Forget counseling. I'm trying to be the next Kanye West because I was nice with it. So I'm trying to be the next Kanye West. But daughter coming in there, knocking on the door, talking about this morning time, 5 o'clock, and I just went to bed at 3. I said I had to change it up. So the stories that I write about, which is like Louise Brown, What Does Heaven Look Like? Louise Brown, The Colors of Rain. Louise Brown, Scared of My Shadow. Those are all stories really about my daughter Cameron being a single father and not knowing, you know, just trying to figure it out. My daughter said, Dad, I wonder if they have ice cream in heaven. Oh, let me write that down. Now let me be creative. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Dad, there's somebody in my room. Somebody's in my room. I get up. It's her shadow. So these are all the different things. So I just try to take, you know, different moments and just be creative, man. You know what I mean? That's really how I do.
Man, so I love that. I love that. I want to talk a little bit about the podcast, right? And then I want to talk about your Four Walls ministry before we get out of here.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about the podcast and where we can find that, and the kind of what is kind of the topic of that, and then let's go into what you're doing with your Four Walls community.
So The Angle is a podcast where we talk about community and wellness. I think everybody has a story, and those that have that story are adding to the community and adding to wellness somehow, some way, right? So I sit down with each individual and just kind of hear about what made them, you know, continue, you know, what made them be in this purpose field. What's driving them? You know what I'm saying? What their story is. What battles have they overcame? What brings about their resiliency? You know what I'm saying? And just kind of learn about them, plus give them their flowers as well, right? So, you know, when I interview people, they say, "Oh, I've never went that in depth about it. I've never told my story like this," because I'm nosy and I want to know. Like I want to know. And as a counselor, again, I got 80,000 ways to find out and ask a question. You know what I'm saying? So it just comes simple to me. So The Angle is a podcast. It's on YouTube under the Four Walls Foundation YouTube channel. It's also on Buzzsprout, also on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And pretty much that podcast, like I said, is about community and wellness. And it's really about, you know, kind of like just trying to help people and help our community. Okay. Now it's a derivative of Four Walls. So the Four Walls company is a counseling agency. So we handle all things counseling, mentoring. Out here in New Jersey, we call it behavioral assistant. We also call outpatient counseling. We do all types of counseling. And that's kind of what the Four Walls is. Four Walls is also a production company where we take different things and skills that I've learned, like making music or having logos and turn that into clothes, or just trying to be creative to be able to raise money to help Four Walls be able to pay student scholarships, be able to help Four Walls feed the homeless, or pay light bills, Christmas presents, give out Thanksgiving, and actually cook Thanksgiving meals to bring the families. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what the Four Walls is. We're a community agency, and our mission is where hope makes change a reality. And that's what we're all about. As long as you got a glimmer of hope, we're going to work with you, come up alongside of you to help you make that change a reality.
I love it. I love it. So where are you guys located mainly? Did you do your most work?
In New Jersey. We're in the state of New Jersey. I'm licensed in Delaware, so we do have some things going on in Delaware, in New York as well. But Jersey is our main focal point because that's where we're at,
All right. I love it. I love it, man. Brice, I definitely appreciate having you on, man. Definitely appreciate chopping it up with you and you sharing your story and expertise. I want you to have the last word, right? Sure. And I want you to leave our audience with some tips and tools that you feel necessary, to help them get through whatever it is that they're going through. And also leave us with your social media handles and things of that nature, so we know where exactly to go to work with you and to find out what you're doing. So I'll give you a couple seconds, to think about that. To my audience, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure you guys are checking us out on our main website, the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org. And we're going to be doing a rehaul of the website soon. So if you happen to go to it and it's not and it's under construction, don't worry about it. It'll be back up soon. Also, in the meantime, make sure you guys go check me out at my speaker's website, which is ErnestJamesSpeaksLife.com. Again, that's ErnestJamesSpeakLife.com. In order to have me to come out to speak to your students or organization or to lead a workshop, I'm all about this life of, deal, heal, and fulfill, helping you to deal with your problems, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. So make sure you guys are checking us out there. Also, ebooks by ejames.com. That's where I have my ebooks that I've written, including the Core 4, which is the 4 core values that every daughter should get from her father. That is the ebook that I wrote that we actually talk about on the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I talk about that with my guests. We have a from males to men ebook, which is a male mentoring ebook for young boys. And one of my favorite ebooks that I've written right now is Forgiving Me, the 4-step guide to self-forgiveness. So all of those ebooks and some others are available at ebooksbyejames.com. Make sure you guys go there to check us out. And our podcast merch, we have our inspirational t-shirt line, deal2healtees.com. That's deal, the number 2, healtees.com, deal2healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Make sure you guys go there to deal2healtees.com to check out our inspirational t-shirt line, as well as our podcast merch, which are t-shirts with our podcast logos on it. There is one for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, as well as one for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Last but not least, over the last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every other month talking about everything surrounding forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, just everything surrounding forgiveness, because I know that forgiveness is a big part of the healing process that we are going through in our world. And we learn to forgive one another and show each other some grace, then a lot of things that we're dealing with today would be non-existent. So you guys can sign up for our next free virtual workshop at forgivenessmission.com, or you can go to Eventbrite and look up the forgiveness workshop sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission and go that way. But again, that's forgivenessmission.com, where we talk about everything surrounding forgiveness. The information is priceless, even though the workshop is absolutely free. So make sure that you guys sign up. So whenever you're listening to this podcast, either a workshop just ended or there's one coming up. So make sure you go to forgivenessmission.com in order to sign up for our next free virtual workshop. Brice, man, again, I want to say thank you very much for being on. Thank you for sharing your story and your expertise. Absolutely. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
All right. So when I give last words, which is like a piece of advice or whatever, I always I always start from a perspective, okay? And the reason why is because a lot of people out here, like you said, you're here to heal. You yourself, Mr. James, right? You're here to heal, which tells me that the majority of people are broken. They're damaged. They don't know how to hear good information because their ego, their defense mechanisms block it, right? So my first thing I'll say is, James Baldwin says, if I love you, I have to tell you the things you cannot see. So that's my perspective. So I could tell everybody straight up, I love you. You've done nothing for it. I give it to you freely. Okay. And what I'm going to give to you is that you could do anything you want to do as long as you want to do it bad enough. As long as you're willing to put the work in to do it, you can accomplish it. But you know what? Sometimes you have to fail to win, right? Now, I also talked about changing your mind. You could change your life, but you got to change your mind. And how you do that? Examine your routine, examine your perspective, examine the things that you do, and ask yourself this one question. Is it bringing me the results that I want? Is it serving me well? If it's not serving you well, not bringing you the results, then it's time to change the routine. It's time to change your mind. And once you change your mind, I promise your life will change. But you can find more of me. I have a personal website, counselorbrice.org. All my socials are probably under. I have a team of people that do it for me. I'm just that busy, so I don't have a lot of time. But it should be everything under Counselor Brice. So if you see Counselor Brice, then you know it's me. If you see anything Four Walls or the original company logo, then you know it's me. But definitely, just please do me a favor. Just take that piece of advice. Okay. If whatever you're doing in life, what you're thinking, what you're doing, the choices you're making, okay, if it's not serving you well and not bringing you the results that you want, it's time to change your mind. And once you change your mind, I promise you, you will change your life.
That's it. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. To deal with your problems, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.